Hi friends, this is Sanjay Parhyar from Houston, Texas. I'm a technologist, and as I mentioned that in our web series, we will be talking to some of the very notable faces in the tourism industry. Here we are with Mr. Himmat Anand. Hello, sir.
Hello. Good morning to all.
Good morning, sir. And Mr. Akhil is also joining with us.
Hi.
I'm Mr. Akhil.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hi, and Mr. Rohit is with us as well. So, first of all, thank you for joining the show. This is definitely an honor for us to have you both here. So, as we were talking about some of the things, Mr. Akhil, the hotel are promoted under the brand of Tree of Life, right? And so how many brands you have in in your chain as such?
So essentially, the hotel brands are two. Under Tree of Life, we've got Tree of Life Expressions and Tree of Life Hideaways. Now, mainly they have the same common ground in terms of being slightly away from the city centers, having small inventories, having in most properties having private cottages and villas close to nature. So that's the whole concept of these two brands. And then we've got another two brands, which is the Intimate Moments, which is looking at the small event space, and the Dog Story, which is looking at pet-friendly holidays only. So these are the four that we're operating at the moment.
And what is the branding strategy? Like your father always mentioned about a non-negotiable branding strategy. What are those non-negotiable branding inspiration you have, and for now and even in future, opening up more and more, expanding your business? As such,
I think it's more about it's not about city center holidays with us. It's not about sightseeing. It's not about monuments. It's more about being close to nature, being in the outdoors. People who really want to unwind and move away from city life for a short period. So that's our kind of target audience, and that's the people that we cater to. And our brand and our communication, all of that follows the same line. So, of course, social media becomes a very important platform then, especially platforms like Instagram, where I think these kind of experiences are very dependent on visuals. So Instagram works quite well for us in that sense. All of them are quite important.
Great. And one of the very unique USP, I would say that there's a very limited number of rooms despite such a huge area, right? And what do you think, how it will be even helpful post COVID-19 era, and tell us some of the post COVID-19 measurements you're taking for your brand as such?
So this was a trend. I think looking towards smaller inventories was a trend that was anyway coming. I think COVID has probably only accelerated that thought process now. People over the last few years have gotten bored of going through a lift and walking through a long corridor, 201, 202 to get to your room. That sort of hotel experience is sort of not exciting anymore for many people looking for a holiday and a getaway. So we said, let's try and do something different. Jaipur, we've got 7 acres of land, for example, with 13 villas. So every villa has about 2,500 square feet of private space. You've got your own private pools in some of the villas. All of the villas have their own private outdoor couple spa. So the spa actually comes to you. You don't need to go down to the spa. So these are elements that we like to focus on, and that's our whole thought process on making these products.
And more post COVID-19 readiness, basically.
Yeah, so essentially, again, people are going to not want to go into city centers, we feel. They'll be safer wanting to be outside cities. Things like social distancing and isolation, all these terms that we keep hearing are kept very well intact when you're with us on holiday. And also by virtue of our location, we're in rural areas. So seeing what villages are like, what village life is like. These are experiences that earlier we thought, only the inbound market appreciates. But there's a very refined segment of the domestic market today which also wants to look at these aspects of life. So post-COVID, I think we'll be the first few to see uptake and traction. Let's see.
Great. I mean, great insight. And question to Mr. Himmat as well on this: that what is some of the post COVID-19 measurements will be taken on the branding in addition to what Mr. Akhil just mentioned?
I don't think we're going to change anything as far as our branding is concerned, but yes, the products will change. And Akhil has just launched his driving holidays, which he'll talk about. Branding will remain the same. I just see us getting probably more active on social media. The social media message is now going to change. That's what's going to change as of tomorrow. And I think Akhil has already planned a campaign which is going to start tomorrow. In that, like I said, the first thing which all brands, including us, need to do is bring about that feeling of confidence. It is that first step of confidence building, because everybody has been locked in for 50 days now, and that's, unlike in the US where you still had a lot of freedom and a lot of movement happening, India clampdown was very, very strong, and I'm told it's probably the strongest in the world where the clampdown has been what it is. So people are really now wanting to get out. There will be caution, of course. So yeah, step one, confidence building exercise. The car is going to be your safest mode of travel, and that's what we are now going to sort of push going forward. I think flights and trains and all have still a while to come.
Right. And you mentioned about safest driving strategy as well, which Mr. Akhil is going to launch, right? Tell us more about that. What are that strategy?
Akhil, you want to come in and give brief, because he's got more information on this?
Yeah.
So self-drive getaways is again the safest way that we're going to see people travel, at least in the near future. Getting into your car and going to a resort which is 4 or 5 hours away is going to be something that people are really wanting to do now. We're already seeing a lot of people talk about what is my next getaway, what is my first getaway going to be after the lockdown gets over. And we're sort of luckily ideally positioned in that sense. We've got feeder markets next to all of our resorts. So for Delhi NCR, you have Jaipur, you've got Ranthambore, you've got Cobbett, you've got Binsar. This also works well for the Punjab belt. And then you have the Gujarat market, which is a very large feeder market that we've seen that traditionally also for our property in Udaipur. You have cities like Lucknow and Agra. You might want to travel to Varanasi for a holiday. You have cities within Kerala itself, Cochin and so on, who would want to explore our beach resort down in Marari. So I think we're fortunate to have these feeder markets which are very stable and strong, and we've been seeing reasonable traction from them in the past, and that will see us through this period. I'm quite sure of that.
Great. And our audience will be very interested to know about hotel rooms, right? And when there's only few number of villas, in that property, tell us more about hotel rooms and some of the specialty within the hotel room.
So with small inventories, you mean what's the
any specialty inside?
Lots of things you can do with small inventories. For example, in Jaipur, we take personalization to a whole new level. This happens in the Tree of Life Expressions brand, Jaipur and Varanasi. So the names of your guests would be printed on every menu every evening.
Wow!
It's a 4-course meal that we do for dinner. We stay away from buffets completely for all meals. We don't do any buffets. We believe that the food should be presented well. It should be cooked to order. So this menu is created, and reservations would actually ask you for your food preferences prior to arrival. And the chef would really make a menu for you based on those preferences. And then at about 5 p.m. he'll go into your villa or into your suite in Varanasi, discuss the menu with you, have a conversation about it, see if there's anything you'd like to change, do a food and wine pairing session, and then be ready for you at a time. And so it's all cooked after that order comes. It's not like we're producing mass gravies and we have a mise en place which serves us for 2-3 days. That's not the idea. So I think these are the small things that you can do with small inventories, which larger hotels obviously can't do by virtue of their size. And then of course, giving people their space, their privacy, like I said about the spa in Jaipur, the outdoor couple spa. You've got various options of dining within the villa itself. So these are the unique selling points of a small inventory.
Wow. And I'm sure there's a lot of, like you said, there's the cuisine, very customized cuisine is one of the most interesting thing for anybody who is coming there. And now tell us some more thing about cuisine. What kind of cuisine is being covered as part of the as part of your chain?
So there's been a shift into veganism and organic food, and we've seen that happen over the years.
Vegan.
Yes, okay.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So we've taken that very seriously in the past couple of months, and actually strengthening that whole aspect of it, because people are going to want to, you can't say that I have a wellness garden or I have an organic garden, but then actually your vegetables are coming in a truck through the back gate, which is coming from a vendor who uses all kinds of pesticides and so on. It can't be lip service anymore. Wellness gardens, kitchen gardens have to really be of substance. They have to be of value. We like our chefs to sort of walk through the garden with the guest and maybe pick your vegetables of your choice, do a small cooking demonstration with what you've picked out, and actually see it working and running. So we're, like I said, getting more and more emphasis onto this space, trying and getting more and more produce from our own gardens, which helps you cost-wise also, but then also taste and flavor, and that whole experience completely changes. So we're trying to focus on that more and more, be more in line with the trends of wellness in our menus and our meals.
Great. Rohit?
Yeah, hi Akhil again. Of course, it's a resort hotel, and many of the people are going to travel in the family, and the kids are going to accompany them. So, what is the scope for the kids in your resorts?
So, we try and stay away from children rooms and movie rooms with toys. I think a lot of the hotels do that. We want to add another element, more value to children. So, for example, we're fortunate to have local village schools around us. So one of the activities that we really do for children is taking them into these schools, interact with the children of rural India, and see how they're still studying with chalks and blackboards under trees outside. They don't have any air conditioners. A lot of them don't have fans. So all of those things make a child who's studying in a fancy school in the city appreciate what they're doing.
Right.
So that's one thing. I think, again, a lot of children have been disconnected from nature in city lives. They're always on their devices, and even in the city, hardly anyone is going down to play anymore. I remember I used to spend all my time outside. We didn't have any devices at that point. Children are just playing on their devices instead of actually playing sport and developing their hand-eye coordination and so on. So taking them out for treks, taking them out for nature walks, in Binsar or Ranthambore, letting our naturalists spend time with the child, teach them a little bit about the flora and fauna. So it goes much beyond, I think, just a playing room or a kid's time and things like that. We of course have kids menus and so on. For example, on your bedside table, if we've done an extra bed for a child, we'll replace the notepad and the pencil that an adult would get with a small coloring book in crayon. So it's just small things like that, and that's how we deal with children.
That's great. For the kids, it's a very different stuffs what the hotel is offering than any other resort what we see. Normally what we see, the kids room where they get and almost they pack there and play something there, and there's something what is very different than any other hotel offers, and what nowadays the children they don't get it.
Correct.
And that's in fact if I look at the locations which is very very close to the Delhi NCR, from where the most of the clients they travel, or maybe it's a Kochi from where the people they go to the Marari, which is not even a 70-80 kilometer from Kochi something. Maybe when I talk about the Varanasi, Corbett or Binsar, which is a driveway distance. Now this attracts to the lots of corporate, to do some team building exercise, some off-site meeting, something. So how the hotel facilitate to them?
Yeah, I think we're trying to bring about a change in that MICE segment. Also, we've created a new product called Corporate Getaways Off the Beaten Track. So this is not your traditional board meeting room with a lunch buffet in between and a tea coffee break at 4 p.m. It goes much beyond that, trying to add value into this entire process, because we believe that if you're coming for an offsite, if you're doing a brainstorming session, the environment that you're in contributes to that whole process hugely, or the outcome of that process hugely. So if you're going to give corporates a standard boardroom sort of environment, the result out of that effort will also be pretty much standard.
Yeah.
So imagine in Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary, for example, we've got a small British colonial home there set in 63 acres of land. And we do you a corporate sort of a conference setup outside in the forest, an outdoor conference setup. And you have beautiful views of the Himalayan snow-capped peaks in front of you. And that's where you're doing your brainstorming session. And before that, you've started your morning with our naturalist taking you on a birding trail in the middle of the park. You know, that sort of an experience. And then we believe that obviously the outcome hopefully would be much better. Varanasi, it's got a whole spiritual vibe to it. So you start your day with maybe a yoga and meditation session. Then you do your conference in an art room, which is an art gallery that we have there. We've got paintings from the students of fine arts at BHU, which we display there, and we also sell for no profit. So that's the setup for the conferences. Then in the evening, maybe take you for a sunset boat ride and the aarti on the ghats, experience that. Next morning, probably start your day with a local breakfast trail in Varanasi, which is very exciting. So these become team building exercises on their own. So that's how we think we can add value to the MICE space in our own small way. It'll be small numbers. So our inventories are small, 30, 35 people maximum.
Right. Yeah. And coming from corporate world, I mean, I certainly see that there is a huge, investment on team building exercise, and this kind of natural interaction with natural people kind of helps us to build better bond and get more productive back when they reach to the office. So I think that's a great insight. And now I'm in US, and when I talk about Indian wedding, everything says, "Oh, this is full of everything," time, everything. Yes, sir. Yes, and everybody wants to experience some sort of in a way or another. Of course, I experienced because I'm Indian. I've been through that for my own wedding. How is the whole wedding experience being created there? As part of for somebody who's coming, inbound travelers coming from Europe, United States, and so how does?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I think within India also this has evolved.
Yeah.
Of course, you have the small groups which come from outside of India to get married, but within India also there's a certain section of society which is starting to think, why am I spending crores of rupees on a wedding? Which, a guy just forgets about. The next week he goes to another same wedding, and it's all happening in that same winter period, right? And it's just forgotten about. You have a few photographs, you have a nice movie, and that's fine, but you spent a huge chunk of your fortune on those 3 days.
Absolutely.
So people are looking at more meaningful events, I think, and that's where the intimate moments comes in, where we thought we should create a whole new vertical for this because it deserves that importance. 40, 50 people getting married, a wedding for 40, 50 people, just close family and friends, 50th birthday celebrations, 25th anniversary celebrations. These are the events that we're looking at. So I think people are looking at more meaningful, smaller, intimate get-togethers, which actually add value. And that's what we're looking at. That's how we're looking at the wedding space. So we're not looking at 1,000, 1,500 space at all.
So having a lot of festivity, either birthdays or weddings, and that is pretty much a lot of great to hear that. So while we are about to wrap up this call, is there anything you want to bring, Mr. Akhil, about the hotel, which is basically which we have not covered so far?
Well, I think we're just, like I said, we're trying to offer all of these experiences and be a little different in our own way. We're not a large hotel operator. We're not competing with big brands in any way. And I don't see us going in that space anyhow. But I do feel that the guests who come and stay with us, they actually really appreciate what we're doing. And you can see that reflected in a lot of the reviews and letters, and people actually, stay in touch with our managers, come back. We've had people in Jaipur who've already come back 6 or 7 times in a span of 10 years. So we're probably doing something right, and we'll carry on this path and see where it leads.
Great. And now my last question on this is basically to both Mr. Himmat and Mr. Akhil. What is the path forward strategy for this chain?
Akhil, you go first.
So I think, scale and small inventories. This is a dilemma that we also keep discussing amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
Can a brand which has only 10 or 12 rooms actually scale up? And then how do you maintain certain processes and sort of the core brand values amongst all of these properties, which could be spread across the whole country?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we've really figured that piece out as yet, as to where we'll go. For the moment, we're just taking it as it comes. We have a lot of properties that approach us on a weekly basis saying we want to associate. But like my father was saying, it's very important to stay true to what you started out with. And I think I've also learned that very recently, that it does make sense to do that and stay there in your own space. So let's see. I mean, for now, we're just taking it as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no huge aspiration or pressure from any side to sort of grow and add X number of hotels every quarter and so on. So we're enjoying what we're doing. It's about getting the right kind of properties, the right kind of partners, and of course your back end also has to be ready for it. So we're in no rush.
Great. Over to you, sir.
So for someone who started 10 years back with the aspiration of having only one hotel and has come to 8, I'm already on fast forward mode. I think I've more than crossed fast forward, right? And the future, I think, like Akhil said, we're fortunate that there is no external investor with us. It's all held by the family. There is no pressure to move, and I think the family understands each other very well as to at what pace we need to grow and how we need to grow. So if you ask me, where do I see, and I don't think number of properties is really a yardstick for a brand like ours. It would be for a larger company. So, let's say a Hilton or a Marriott or whatever, the Hyatt, they must have 80, 100, 200 properties in their portfolio. For a homegrown brand like us, I think number of properties is not what is important. What is important is what are you delivering at the end of the day to the guests, which is different from what the others are doing. And for us, that is what our driving force is. So we will grow at the pace which allows us to continue maintaining this difference with the others. And the day we feel that the size is enough and the size is not allowing us to be different anymore, I think that day we will stop growing and then just carry on with what we have. So if you ask me 2 years down the line, I would imagine 3-4 properties more will definitely come into the portfolio. Mm-hmm. But I would be comfortable if the brand, if you're looking at size just as a point, if we have anything between 12 and 15 properties to manage, we are at 8 just now. Reaching 12, I don't think is very difficult. There is a lot of interest with people wanting to associate with us, but we just want to associate with the right sort of people, with the right sort of product. So eventually I guess 12 to 15 hotels is where the tree of life will sort of plateau out at, and then have very incremental increases after that.
Got it. Great. And one more thing I think we should talk about is pet friendliness, and which is not so common there, right? So, what tell us more about pet friendliness, and this may be the last question for sure. We can certainly talk about the multiple hours as you both are here, but considering that, let's talk about the pet friendliness, and that is one of the USP there, right? With your hotel.
So like Akhil mentioned, Booking.com, they took out 8 trends, which are the trends for 2021 onwards. And one of them was that pet travel is going to increase by something like 50 to 70%. Mm-hmm. This is a global survey they did. It was not India specific. It was a global survey. But I'm sure India is also included in that, because there is a huge awareness. There is a huge compassion growing in the country for pets. And I see the pet industry in terms of food, in terms of accessories for pets is growing at quite a rapid pace here. Unfortunately, this pet-friendly model can never be a big model. You can't have a room, let's say a property with 20 rooms doing only pet-friendly or pet-specific. It doesn't make sense. But what I see happening in the future is a lot of the hotels which till now were pets not allowed. I see them migrating into a pet-friendly tab, so to say. The unfortunate part in that is that by just putting a pet-friendly tab doesn't make anything. It only allows you to stay there with your guest. I would like to see that change, and I think that's where again a dog story probably is the first brand in the country where we are giving accommodation specific for travel with pets with so much of attention just on the pet. I hope others will see from us. I hope others will take from what we are doing and create this big. I don't, like I said, see it becoming big because there is no money in this, honestly. This you do as a passion. This you do as something which you really want to do, because in 2 or 3 or 4 rooms which are used mostly on weekends, how much money can you make? You can't. So I'm glad we have a brand like Tree of Life, which is pet friendly also. And then a dog story is not piggybacking on it, but at least it's sort of complementing what we do as our master brand. Yeah.
Great. So like we are just about to wrap up the call, and I really thank you both, Mr. Himmat and Mr. Akhil, to be here and share some of the insight about the chain, having some inspiration. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Well,
thank you, Akhil. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Akhil.